like the heat. I am complete. I see the doorway. The thousand churches. The resolution of all the fruitless searches. Oh, I see the light and the heat. Oh, I wanna be that complete. I wanna touch the light, the heat I see in your eyes. I don't like to see so much pain, so much wasted, and this moment keeps slipping away. I get so tired working so hard for our survival. I look to the time with you to keep me awake and alive. And all my instincts, they return, and the grand facade so soon will burn. Without a noise, without my pride, I reach out from the inside. In your eyes, your eyes, your eyes, in your eyes, the light, the heat. Your eyes, I am complete. Your eyes, I see the doorway, the thousand churches. Your eyes, the resolution. Your eyes, of all the fruitless searches.
All right.
Oh, I see the light.
That's probably not the last Peter Gabriel song I'll play for you. You get the theme. You know, we're talking about vision in your eyes. There we go. Deep connection today. I don't have any profound words to say right now. I hadn't thought about any. I wouldn't have had any profound words probably had I thought about it before just now. But I just want to, I don't know, acknowledge the tumult that's going on campus since, I don't know, Friday. You know, all the changes that were announced and made, or not announced and then made, and the bathroom sign issue, and the SB1. Lots of protests in the last couple of days. If you've been involved in those protests, yay you, okay? I work for you closely with the administration. I'm one of the faculty senators, and while I represent faculty, we faculty are here for you, and so I do work closely with this. I do work closely with this administration, and sometimes against, or against them. Our job is not to just, you understand that. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. And for what little it's worth, which is really nothing, I'll just add that I know this. I feel like I know this president because I work with him and have interacted with him, and he's a human. He's like every human, he's flawed, and but I'll just say my opinion is I think he's brilliant and bright and thoughtful and has a good heart, and this is his home. He was a faculty member here, right out of graduate school, and I know Cincinnati, and the University of Cincinnati is in his heart and in his home, is his home. So for what that's worth, he's made and he'll continue, as anybody has to as a human, to make mistakes and maybe flawed decisions or whatever. So keep fighting for what's right, even if it's what you think is right. Right and truth are objective, and there is no truth and there is no right. But I encourage you to be passionate about what you believe and what you think is right. So thank you for, if you are involved with that in any big or small way, keep that up. And this sounds pithy, I guess, but you hear it, and it's maybe, I hope it's not just words, because I truly feel it too, but I periodically have said this, and I'll say, I don't know if I've said it to you, but I very regularly say this to students. You belong here. And by here, I mean multiple things. I mean at this university, but I also just mean at a university. And you might sadly for me decide that, excuse me, you might sadly decide that this isn't where you belong, and that's super okay. But don't ever doubt that you belong, here at a university, at this level of education. You belong, you're not an imposter, and you may decide not to pursue whatever, okay, but I just don't ever think that if you don't continue, don't think it's because you don't belong, okay? Don't let that little voice or anybody else tell you you don't belong or make you feel like you don't. So a lot of these issues that are happening right now here in our state, in our country, in our world, it's a tough time, okay? So hang in there and be kind. And if everybody's kind, then that's always a good start, right? I mean, okay, enough about that. Pithy words. I haven't really prepared what I was going to say. So I just wanted to acknowledge the protests and things that I've been seeing and hearing about. So, okay. Universities are places of, change and growth and thinking, and this one's big, and and there's lots of members and lots of people and lots of ways of thinking represented, and not, despite, ironically, there's a lot of diversity here, and some are trying to get us to stop thinking about it or talking about it or acknowledging it, but and that's the benefit and that's the problem. Okay, there's diversity, and not everybody agrees. So we are about trying to find smart ways to navigate. So keep that up. Okay, one other announcement I want to make, just to save a couple of emails. And sorry if I didn't email you back about this, because I think I got some people in here that asked me this question and pointed out on the Canvas page, you can't see your grade total like you can in probably most of your other Canvas courses. And I can't remember, I guess I didn't talk about it, so just real quickly, I do deliberately have that turned off because of Canvas's limitations in the grades. So, because I do this, maybe you get an exam dropped. Canvas doesn't deal very well with, anything, but it doesn't deal well with maybes, okay? So if I turn on your grade total, it very likely will be misleading, and not just for those that might wind up with an exam thrown out, but it's more trouble than it's worth for me to have that turned on, and then to have to I worry about the surprises you might get, particularly at the end of the semester when anyway, I don't want to bother over explaining it. It just it does not. Also, because it doesn't show you accurately what has not happened yet, it doesn't factor that in. So one way I could do that, which would be scary and sad looking, is to just make everything that isn't done yet worth 0. but then you'd always have a shitty grade all along. You'd be like demoralized, okay? So do you understand that? Like if it's not factoring in shit that hasn't been graded and done yet, it's just not factoring it in. So it's kind of showing you a false grade, either way, whether I put zeros in or nothings, okay? So anyway, in lieu of that, I guess I failed to mention this, and maybe some haven't found it yet, but on the home page, I should have called up the page, but on the home page, near the top third or so, there is a link called My Grades Calculator. That'll take you to a page with a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet that uses the calculations I use, and you can plug in, and hopefully it will work right there live. But if it doesn't for a million reasons, you can download it onto your device and do it yourself there. But anyway, it's a spreadsheet, and I kind of dummy-proofed it, I hope, and made it like all you can do is put in your scores, okay? And you won't be able to change, you won't be able to accidentally, mess it up, okay? So you can plug in what you know so far, and then you can play what-if games with future stuff. What if I didn't do it? What if I got 100 on it? Whatever, you can plug in anything you want, play those what-if games, and it'll, show you your kind of, your unofficial, but, mathematically identical to what I do score or grade, okay? So I hope it's a clunkier, but actually very, very precise substitute for Canvas's potentially and often usually misleading grade total. Okay, so please forgive me for turning that off. I'm making that decision for you that I don't want you to be disappointed, and maybe that's not right for me to be. Anyway, I just have it turned off. Okay, all right. Any questions about that or anything? I should have had this up on the screen while I was doing this. Is this the right one? Yes. Okay, hopefully this works. And, so yeah, right before class, I do, I almost always, right before class, make last minute modifications to my PowerPoint. And then my computer ate the dust, all right? So when I go back, I hope it's rebooted, but it was like, it just froze and so I didn't, like, the things I did right before coming to class didn't save. So, and I was about, and it froze when I wasn't done. I was about to do one more thing and make sure I had this code on some periodic slides coming up, okay? Like I usually will try to do in case you come in late or didn't. Anyway, I don't know if there's any more of these codes coming up, so I might have to, like, artificially come back to this slide if I remember to. So anyway, is it not working for anybody? Is it not working? No hands are going up. That makes me feel happy, okay? All right, I will proceed. Okay, we're talking about visual attention in this chapter, and I begin to talk about some qualities and issues and concepts related to that. And we were talking about things like, what you look at, how you're, we started basically like, the fact that our eyes kind of scan around, our eyes almost have a little mind of their own. We don't, we can decide, hey, I'm going to look at the screen now, and I'm looking at the screen now. You can, of course, you can consciously draw your attention to whatever you want, but wouldn't you agree? I know, I don't have to ask you to agree. The fact is that most of the time, they just move to things. Not consciously, you don't decide to like, I'm going to look at that person right now. Okay, they almost have a mind of their own, and so that's what we're kind of talking. Like, what is that mind? Like, what does draw the eyes to certain things? Okay, and we began to talk about that. So, like, something salient in the world. So, salient means important, or maybe like weighty or something like that. So, one thing, there's lots of things that will draw our eyes to, something that's unusual. I had an example up there of a guy wearing a red shirt with everybody else wearing a white shirt. Other images, different colors or bright colors or something blinking or something bright or something flashing or something lit up or certainly something moving. Our eyes are drawn to movement. we're drawn to human forms, okay? Real, or I had a statue example, and like, eye tracking software was showing that people were just naturally gravitating, they weren't given a task like, hey, what are those statues? Or, just look at this picture. And boom, they were just looking at the statues at first, okay? And all the other stuff in the background was being ignored. So, eventually they probably would have scanned around and looked at the whole thing. So anyway, I'm going to continue that. So some of the factors that, draw me, what do we pay attention to and why? All right, so, we can get in kind of more advanced as we go along here, okay? So just simple, I should have started out by just reminding you about, like, one thing that eyes do is those saccades, saccadic movements, all right? So your eyes are always jittering a little bit. We talked about that. That's to prevent any, that's an evolutionary advantage to prevent anything from just lingering on the retina for too long, because we would not see it, okay? If something falls on the retina stationary, it fades away. The brain has got lots to do, and it's like, I don't need to keep calculating that thing that's not changing, and it becomes invisible, okay? So, that wouldn't be that's adaptive to do that, but it's not adaptive in real life to like with your vision to do it. So it's sort of an arms race. The eyes are like, they'll just keep jittering around to prevent you from having the world go, disappearing. So anyway, moving up from that really basic concept to now some more cognitive factors. Okay, so not the most exciting kind of example or research here, but like, people, they were, again, using eye tracking software and measuring what people were looking at during a driving, simulation, okay? They were more likely to detect stop signs when they were where they are expected to be, okay? This is maybe, I don't know if I doubt the simulation looked like this. This is just a simple rendering, but so your eyes probably very clearly see those stop signs. But imagine this is a moving thing and like a more realistic kind of scene, because our driving simulations can be very realistic now. And if things like signs are not, where they're expected to be, you'd see them. When they're not where you expect them to be, you're kind of blind to them, okay? And you probably, those of you that drive know this from experience too. Like, sometimes you're, if you're consciously worried about the speed limit, you're in a zone where it's changing, it's 55 here, it's 45, it's 35, it's back to 45, you might be watching for speed limit signs, okay? And, but sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're like, oh, I forgot to look, or I wasn't looking, or I missed that change, or, and hopefully they're hopefully, but not always, because humans are humans, they're placing these things where they will draw your attention, right? But sometimes you see like a speed limit sign near too many other things, and that's stupid. That's stupid placement, to either put it there and allow other signs and things to be around it, distracting you from it. So anyway, long story short, if the signs are like in oddball places like these two, it's a mixed bag. This example would be probably, it would draw your attention, because like, what the fuck is that sign doing there? But again, bad example. If this was a more realistic sort of scene with lots going on there, you wouldn't be expecting to see it, and you might just not even notice it. Okay? So that's the upshot of those kind of studies. Okay. Other cognitive a few moments ago mentioned this kind of thing. If you give someone directions to look at something, look at the screen now, okay? You're looking at the screen. So anyway, you show people an image, and none of these are example. There should be like one more example, like just show the picture and then measure the eye movements and see what people look at without any task, without giving them any instruction. And you already know you already can predict what someone, a given person, would do looking at this painting, okay? There's people, so their eyes would probably be naturally drawn to the people, okay? And certain disorders, or like certain kinds of autism, for example, they'll be different. They're maybe less likely to pay attention to the images, and particularly the faces, all right? Other people who are, I don't know, this like if you were a painter or an artist of some sort, a visual artist. You might, what are those paintings in the background, okay? You know, your interests are gonna take you to different things. Okay, so anyway, if you're just, you know, without a task, most people are gonna just kind of scan around, probably looking at the people. But I just gave you some, you know, if you were like all into, I don't know, if you built doors for a living, maybe, you might like, oh, door, what kind of door is that? Or windows, or, you know, if you sold furniture, you get my drift. You know, you're gonna look at things that, that interest you, but consciously or not. Okay, but that's not what the study did. So, you know, anyway, this isn't the most exciting research, but like if you ask them to determine the age of the people in the image, well, how would you determine age? You wouldn't do it by looking at the walls or at their shoes. You'd probably look at, you know, look, these dots are corresponding to where their faces are. That's probably the best, you know, their face is probably the best information about age, right? Okay? And maybe some others, you know, scoot down, like, you know, looking at clothing and so on. All right, if you're asking them to remember the clothing, look at, I mean, the eye tracking, you know, they almost like this is like a tracing or rendering of the people. They're looking up and down the person and like, you know, asked to remember, you know, what were the people wearing in this? Okay. If you ask them to remember the positions of people or objects in the room, you know, where were the paintings, where were the doors, where were the people standing, right? Whatever task you gave them. Or if you were just told them, like, look, maybe even if you said, like, I'm gonna ask you about the placement of things in this image, but I'm not gonna yet tell you what they are, okay? And I want you to be as accurate as possible, so you give them that little incentive. All right, you'd probably scan the whole thing like that represents to be like prepared to answer like, okay, all right, there's, you know, what, 4 or 5 people, and oh, there's some chairs, and there's some paintings, and there's a door. You know, you might like scan around like thinking about what you might need to remember. Okay, so anyway, long story short, cognitive factors can, of course, override what you would naturally look at. Okay, the task at hand, even if you're just looking at a still image. So I love this one. All right, so you put whether this image or you have this stuff laid out in front of them, and you say, imagine making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, and the eyes, you don't tell them like, you just tell them that, like, just imagine making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. All right, and so you can, you know, like, your eyes will probably tend to do it in the steps that you would do it. You know, you're imagining making a peanut butter sandwich, so first you got to get the bread, right? And then you got to put it on the plate, all right? And then where does it go? To the peanut butter, not the jelly. Raise your hand if I'm right. When you make a peanut butter sandwich, you go for peanut butter first. Raise your hand if that's true. Raise your hand if you disagree. Jelly first. How many? How many? You can be. Don't be worried about being wrong, because you are. But proudly raise your hand if you're a jelly first person. And I don't do either, but I just like, you know, I only want peanut butter on it. I'm not going to put any. Anyway, you got to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Despite your tastes. Okay, I always get a few. Some of you are like, I'm not going to be mocked, okay? I know there's some of you out there that go jelly first, okay? What are the other options? I don't know why, it's just peanut butter first. Because then you can take the other piece of bread that you're going to put the jelly on, and you can wipe the peanut butter cleanly off it easily, so you don't get the peanut butter and the jelly. Plus, if you go jelly first, you're going to get jelly in the peanut butter, and that's just wrong. And it's hard anyway. So, all right. Then you're going to, you know, spread it, and then you're going to, I don't know why you might glance at the water. You might take a sip of water or something, but anyway, then you're going to go for the jelly. Okay, they didn't finish this. All right, and I'm going to take the moment to do this. All right, so I'm going to just prove to you that I'm right. So this will take us to, you know, an article about this, and they cite no better authority than Smucker's, you know, the makers of jelly, So the makers of jelly are conceding that people do peanut butter first. I think it says it here, 96%. Where is it? Did I already pass it? Anyway, it's in here somewhere. They acknowledge that 96% go peanut butter first, all right? Where's the quote from Smucker's? Yeah, Smucker's, a company that knows a thing or two about jelly, says that 96% of people, anyway. So the evidence is in my favor, all right. And then they do acknowledge that some people have, like, you know, some pretty creative ways to do it. How many of you put peanut butter on both pieces so the jelly's in between? Does anybody do that? Okay. And then there's an even smaller percentage of people out there who mix them together in a bowl first. I don't know what the fuck's up with that. Peanut butter and jelly in a bowl or somewhere together, and then slide that mess onto the, you know, make it all uniform. That's just, oh, and then there's that, what is it called, goobers or something like that? There's that stuff that the peanut butter with the jam in it mixed in there, okay? That, I've never owned a can or whatever. I've never bought that. That's also just kind of wrong. Okay, that's enough about peanut butter sandwiches. So I gotta like that one. So anyway, yeah, when you just are imagining a task, your eyes will, like, you know, pretend you'll do the task, like when you're just imagining it. Okay, back to some of the benefits of attention, okay? You know, one of the simple advantages is attention speeds responding to things. So this is a boring study, but you flash this image on the screen, you present this cue, and then, wait, what am I doing here? Yeah, okay, this is the clue, all right? So, like, you present this, and the task is to, it's as quickly and as accurately, when you see which one of these 4 quadrants gets lit up, press the appropriate key, okay? And so if they're flashed this correct cue, little predictor, like this is just flash, right, fraction of a second. They see this first, which kind of gives them a, not so subtle clue where the, which quadrant's gonna light up, and then it lights up. You see the reaction times, okay? So, if it's accurate, if it's correctly identifying the place that they gotta press, this is like, you maybe read the results of the study and you're like, well, duh, okay? Well, we're just giving evidence to the fact that your attention helps you predict what to do next, okay? So you're quicker and, you have a faster reaction time to pressing that. And if the other, if a wrong, I don't know why they didn't give a time for D, but that would probably be the slowest one. If it's, if they actually, after giving A as the cue, then, actually light up these other things, you see you're slower. You're slower to get to the right one if you've been like, I was all ready to press A, but oh shit, I gotta press C or B or D, okay? All right, that's such an exciting study. This one, they're fixating on a dot here, and then there's going to be a little cue flashed up there that they're told nothing. Yeah, they're told the dot has no meaning. All right, so like you're going to see this, you're going to see a dot on the screen. Don't worry about it; doesn't mean anything. And then you're going to see 2 gradings, and your task is to indicate which, if any of the you say which of the bars has more contrast, okay? And by wording it that way, you say which of the bars has more contrast, of course, gives the implication that they will differ. And sometimes they will, and sometimes they won't. But you don't say, right, you're expecting, right, you get the idea. You don't say, do the bars differ? You just say, tell me which one, has more contrast, okay? This is a weird sort of study. When there was a large difference in the contrast, when there actually was one of them basically will be darker than the other one, right, with more contrast. When that is the case, the dot will have no effect. But when the contrast was the same, and again, your expectation is always that they differ. You're not told that they might sometimes be the same. You're not thinking that's an option. You're like, they're going to differ, they're going to differ. Okay, which one? You want to be quick and accurate because you want to please a researcher, okay? So, and again, you're like, oh, there's a dot. But anyway, suddenly that dot will like take on meaning. Like you're told, like this dot has no meaning. But they'll be more likely to pick the side, they'll say, like if it's here, they'll say this one has more contrast when they're equal, okay? So that's weird, but true, okay? A meaningless dot will take on information that is actually inaccurate, and even against all instructions, like the dot has no meaning. They're not told to ignore it, they're just like, the dot has no meaning. It takes on meaning, okay? That's weird. All right, and this is now old news too. So back to some of the physiology of attention. All right, so what you're paying attention to is going to have a correlation in what area of the brain gets more activity. So we know this already. When if you show a face, those fusiform face areas are going to be all blitzy. All right, okay. They're not going to light. The FFA doesn't light up to homes or houses or scenes or cans or pictures or objects or just like only faces, pretty much. Okay, and like we did this example already. It might be a whole, it might be a building or a face. Okay, when it's and if you're presented at the same time, we already talked about this. Sometimes when it's ambiguous, again, flash to one eye or the other. So your brain will kind of flip-flop back and forth between face, building, and the brain activity in those regions will correspond with what you're saying you perceive, right? People like maybe are telling you or pressing a button like, ooh, that's a face, ooh, it's a house now, ooh, it's a face, ooh, it's a house, right? And the MRI is telling you like, ooh, the FFA's lighting up, ooh, the area around the PPA, I'm blanking on the name, help me out, people, you guys learned this the other day. Parahippocampal area, pre-parahippocampal area, is it pre-parahip? I don't know what this region right here that's gonna spin around, this area lights up for like objects and scenes, okay? So a house is both an object and a scene as we talked about. We already did that, that was review. Let's take that kind of stuff up a notch a little bit here. And you might have this like weird image as a stimulus here, and you're fixating on the center like we always tell people to do. So we want you to stare at the center, but then you could say like give your overt attention to the dot in the middle, but pay attention to either region A, B, or C. Okay? And then you're mapping the visual cortex for activity, and the yellow areas indicate the most activity. Okay, so this map you could sit and just look at the MRI scan and accurately predict what the person is covertly paying attention to. Again, they're staring at the center of the screen, but right, if the region A is close to the center, so this corresponding, there's a map of visual cortex that correlates perfectly with your visual field, all right? And so thinking about A lights up A, paying covert attention to area B, it's out a little further. Area C is way out there, and it's also bigger, right? So it matches in location and in scope what the person is covertly paying attention to, but not looking at, okay? That's clever and neat, okay? You can see this in monkeys even, okay? So I don't know how you do this with monkeys and how you train a monkey to do these things, but grapes help. Monkeys work for grapes, okay? So you can have the monkey stare at this dot, and then you can somehow train them to not take their eyes off that dot, but pay attention to other regions, okay? So like when they're paying attention to that dot, this area is gonna be lit up, but then if you again, I have no idea how you train a monkey to don't look at this dot, but kind of pay attention to it while staring at this dot, okay? And their brain activity will light up, showing it's corresponding to that region, okay? Think about that for a second, not just because it's monkeys, but just think about what's going on in brains for this, okay? This is kind of neat. This is the visual cortex that's processing vision, like as if you're looking at it. But the person or the monkey isn't looking at these other areas. They're just like, hey, keep looking over here, but pay attention to what's going on over here, okay? And the brain, the visual cortex is like, as if it's paying attention to it, as if it's looking at it. It's lighting up, okay? I don't have the slide, but the next step would be like, okay, close your eyes altogether, so no information's come into the visual cortex. The visual cortex, and okay, close your eyes, I could have you all close your eyes right now and just imagine the screen. Imagine the screen up there, okay? And if I was measuring your MRI and mapped to, while you're looking straight ahead, look at me, keep your eyes closed, but imagine you're staring at me, but pay attention to the screen, okay? Again, just the imagining of all this will make your visual cortex light up as if it's actually looking, okay? Brains are cool. All right. So now we'll take it up another notch. What happens, does anybody want me to quickly go back to, again, I intended to have the presence code thing. Does anybody need me to quickly go back to the code? We're all good? Okay, I won't do it. What happens when we don't attend? I'm giving you examples of what we actually do overtly pay attention to, what we covertly pay attention to, what we imagine, imagine the scene with your eyes closed, imagine making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, your eyes dart around as if you're making it, okay? What happens when we don't attend to things, okay? This is gonna bring up a really fun concept that we call inattentional blindness. And it's a simple concept, but it's really still fun. All right? Basically, you're just blind to things that you're not paying attention to, okay? Now, there's tons and tons of details everywhere, right now. There's just tons of details in your visual world right now. Some of them you're paying attention to. Sometimes you look at me, sometimes you look at the screen, sometimes you look at you look at what you're shopping for on your computer. Okay, your attention goes all over the place, okay? But there's tons and tons of the vast majority of visual stimuli you're not paying attention to. You're going to be essentially blind to the things that you don't pay attention to, and that makes sense. You don't need to know how many chairs are in this room, unless you're maybe autistic or something. You're not gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're not gonna count them. How many lights are there on the ceiling? Or how many, not just numbers of things, but there's a bazillion. I'm just talking about visual. There's auditory sounds. There's tactile feelings that you're feeling right now. Anyway, smells maybe. But anyway, we can't pay attention to everything. That would be harmful, and that's a disorder we call autism. So we're going to be not paying attention to things, and therefore we're going to be literally blind to them, okay? So subjects in this study, the holy grail, the holy cross of cognitive psychology, looking at the center of the screen, and the horizontal and vertical lines, we tell them they're gonna, some are gonna be longer and some are gonna be shorter. Your task is to just, indicate which arm is longer on each trial, okay? So they're given that, task, okay? So they're staring at the screen and they gotta, they wanna be accurate and quick and accurate because everybody wants to please a researcher, even though you get nothing you're not getting a grape. You're not gonna get a grape. You're just, pleasing, you might get a grape. We might give you a grape, all right? You might get credit, whatever. You might get $10. You might get a grape. You might get nothing. Okay, I'm done with that. All right, so anyway, you're gonna pay attention to this task, and periodically they put a little square somewhere on the screen. They don't mention it, they don't tell you, it has no meaning, it just will appear, okay? And that'll happen on this study, on the 6th trial. All of a sudden this little box appears, all right? And then they're asked if they saw anything different than before. Almost nobody notices it. Only 2 out of 20 subjects in that condition reported seeing the square, okay? And it's not like it just flashed, okay? It's like, burr. It's been there the whole time. And you're just like looking at the arms to see which ones, you got a task in mind and you want to get that grape. So you just, the other 18 people, like, there was a square on the screen? Huh, I don't believe you, okay? That's called inattentional blindness, or a related concept is change blindness, okay? When things change, sometimes things change, and you can't pay attention to. So here's, this is the example from your book, so hopefully you already know the answer to this, but you show people like an image like this, or any random image, okay? Then you take it away, and then you show it to them again, you say, what's different? Okay, there is something, we're not lying, there's something different, what is different in this photo? And if you didn't do this in your book, and this is the fun thing, like, textbooks can't do this, right? Okay, so you just saw both images, maybe on this page, I can't remember how it worked on your book, maybe it's on different pages. But anyway, here's the original image, goes away, here's the second image, okay? So that's hard. That's really hard. Even if it was next to each other and you could go back and forth, you got books, as a kid, you probably did tons of these, find, there's 12 things that differ or whatever, you scan around and you're looking at both images, okay. And that can be, it's hard. I can make it really, so that makes it easier to show them both at the same time, so maybe the difference has popped out already. But well, this is even easier. So, here's the original image. So I won't have a mask. I won't make it go blank. Here's the second image. Boom. Now it jumped out at you, right? Original image, boom. It's like, you can't not see it, okay? So, but life doesn't always work that way, okay? So sometimes, yeah. So it's fun to investigate how far you can take this blindness, this change blindness, or this inattentional blindness with people. So some really fun studies have been done. All right? This is a classic. And so if you already know this, just play along. This is a classic one. Maybe you've seen this in other classes. So this is Daniel Simons is a psychologist, and this was, anyway, watch this, listen. I better have the sound off.
So right when I thought Mom would start taking it easy with her osteoporosis, boom, we moved to this cool new place in the city. If you have postmenopause...
Okay.
This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
So a real specific task to watch for, and it's kind of hard. Just the players in white. How many times do they pass the ball? And you're already like, well, I'm not going to pay attention to the players in black, just the white ones. You're sitting there counting them. And if you've never seen this, you're going to...
How many passes did you count?
How many were there?
The correct answer is 15 passes.
You get a grape. You get a grape if you got 15.
But did you see the gorilla?
Did you see the gorilla? I mean, how could you not see that? Because you're...
This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris and is copyrighted. It is available for use in talks, training, and teaching on DVDs from VisCog Productions. Learn more at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
I thought he included the data. Okay, so I got a weird version of that. So I don't know, I can't remember, but like the vast majority of people don't even notice the gorilla, right? Whether they got the number of passes right or wrong, okay? Yeah. Okay, so now that you think you're all...
This is a...
Now that you know, let's try it again, okay? Oh, another question.
At Harbor Freight, we do business differently from the other guys. We design and
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball.
Like, oh, I know this one. There's going to be a gorilla. Don't watch for the gorilla. You're supposed to be counting. Okay? Again, you want that grape. You're only going to get the grape if you're right. Damn, oh, here comes the gorilla. All right. Easy, right? I got
The
right
correct
number?
answer is 16 passes.
I got it. Did you see the gorilla?
Did you spot
Yes.
the gorilla?
I'm perfect.
For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game?
No, you did not.
Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events.
That's the moral of this study.
And that's the monkey business illusion.
Yes. And they should know better than to
Learn
call
more
it.
about this illusion and the original gorilla.
Shame on them for calling a gorilla a monkey, okay? A gorilla's an ape, it's not a monkey. Okay, so I gotta play this this clip for you. This is a British comedian going out and doing okay, anyway, I'll just play it. Those other researchers did another version of the study called the door swap, and you'll see what that means here.
The call came in around noon for this fire in the 6600 block of Georgetown Lane, Madison Town.
Most of us think we're pretty observant, but with a bit of mind control, I wanted to see if I could make these people take even the most obvious things for granted. Excuse me, do you know how to get to Trinity Church from here?
Yeah. You see that church down there?
Yep, straight through there.
And then you keep going down.
Excuse me. Sorry, which way?
You see where that church is down there?
Yeah.
You stop.
I just feel compelled to explain to you what just happened there, because you the first time you watched this and never heard about it, you also didn't notice it, but when those rude people came through with that big painting, the person who was asking for directions snuck behind the painting, and another different person stayed. Okay, so now he's talking to a completely different person, and so just like the gorilla, it's astonishing how people won't notice a fucking different person is now talking to me. And so this comedian tests how far that can go, like how different can a different person be.
On that, which is, I believe, Broadway. And then you walk down 2 or 3 blocks, and Trinity Church is on the right-hand side. We're walking in that direction.
You can tell from their behavior that they don't know
me,
this,
I don't know
and
what
they
Trinity
question them
Church is, do you?
afterwards.
Might be Wall Street and Broadway.
Okay. Well, we're down here somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, you see Trinity Church.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Inside the Trinity Church. Right there. Yeah. If you keep going that way, you'll hit Broadway, then you go down a couple of blocks. And,
Thanks very much. That seemed almost too easy, so later on I see how far I can take it. Excuse me, do you know where Trinity Church is?
It's in that direction.
Okay. Last time I switched with someone who looked a little bit like me, but where's the fun in that?
excuse me.
You know who best direct you? The other side. You see where that lady standing? Sure. That's the booth. No, the lady in the gray.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not
The other side.
Yeah, the other side.
But you say you don't know where it is.
Exactly what street? No, but it's in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
very different look.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity
This
Church
guy's
is?
great.
From here.
Yeah, fine. Come on, I'll take you. Or you want to walk now?
Gonna help him.
I'm gonna catch some other people. Sorry,
Sorry, guys.
The big
Okay,
you're
listen,
saying-
once you go on Broadway,
Yes.
remember the numbers are going... Okay, so what was another guy?
Said
Once you
something
hit the
was a
Broadway, you're
mess.
going down.
Yes.
Walk up
But
straight
it doesn't
that
seem
way
to know why.
and just walk straight down. You're gonna
Brilliant.
see it. It's right. It's really brown.
That's brilliant. Thanks for your help.
All right, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Excuse me. You know where Trinity Church is? Ah, great. Well, where are we on here? We sort of there.
We're right here.
Thank you.
This time
Go
it's
on.
funny.
We are Brooklyn Bridge.
Turned into an Asian woman.
You want to cross over there, go down Broadway, and you'll be right there. Okay, thank you.
No clue.
Excuse me, mate. Do you know this area? Do you know the area? Do you know Piccadilly Circus?
You need to go the way.
So through there?
Yeah, through the through Leicester Square.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go on for me.
If you keep going that way,
This way.
The changing into the woman is the most obvious. Like that's the most extreme one. So this I'm going to play it. This is so. At my last university, I used to teach stats and methods, and so I had a semester-long project. They had to do a research project, and I had one of the pairs of students decided to do this door swap study outside on campus. So forgive this is probably 12, 15 years old, you know, cell phone cameras at the time. This is really, really shitty video, but it's, yeah, here's them doing it. And I just turn the volume on. Lots of wind noise. You don't need to hear anything. So there they are waiting for somebody. You know, they're talking to somebody. Wait, they're waiting for somebody. Those are two of the members of the team. Come on. All right, so she stops somebody randomly. Here comes the door. Excuse us, excuse us. She swaps out with a guy, a much bigger guy. And, you know, the real participant on the right doesn't appear to have noticed a difference. Oh no, this was a condition where they had two interviewers. Okay, so no, it was, okay, he was there the whole time, and then that other woman switched with the other woman that left. Okay, so that's the first condition where she's another woman for another woman who's dressed very similarly, okay? So they were testing what are the limits on this, and so, like, you know, you already saw examples like when it's just one person who swaps, loads of people don't miss it. When it's two or more and only one person swaps, you know, they're even less likely to notice it, okay? Because now they're like distracted by two, or I think they did a condition with three of them stopping and asking for directions and only one swaps, okay? So yeah, here's a pair of them. Here comes the door. Swaps again for a different woman, okay. And they found, you know, they replicated the study almost precise, like almost this, if I remember correctly, like almost identical percentages, you know, of people who failed to notice a swap. And they added a little bit to it by adding like different, you know, they did different versions of it. So anyway, there you go. So if you have to do a research project, here's a fun one you can do, okay? It's loads of fun. Take some planning and some preparation. That was like, that was, you know, one of the things that, you know, it takes a while to rehearse this and get it, you know, to get, you know, the door swapping and everything done right. Okay, I got time for another, well, I'm getting all the commercials today. You're not gonna let me skip this ad, are you? All right. Now you already know the game, so see how well you do. No one's in the game.
I'm going to show you something that's not completely legal.
amazing. But did you happen to notice all the things that have changed since the scene began?
Action. I'm going to show you something that's not completely legal.
Go!
While we held your attention on the money, the table turned to a stool.
Go!
Apollo magically got a new hat and handkerchief. And all the posters and cards in the background changed.
Your brain just played a trick on you. We all think we're paying close attention to the world around us. But strange as it may sound, this is just an illusion. Go! Misdirection is an elegant form of attention control.
And then they, you know, that's exactly how magic works, okay? You know, that's, you know, misdirection gets you to focus on one thing while something that you're not anticipating changing happening. Okay, I'm out of time, and I'm pretty sure I'm done with what I want to talk about in the chapter. So we're done with that chapter. Hey, enjoy today. It's going to be like, you know, practically summer until it starts raining this afternoon, so get out there and enjoy it. And I'll see you on Friday when it's, I don't know, chillier again.